afternoon. Welcome back to another edition of the Dr. James Show. I'm Dr. James Smith Jr., and I'm happy, thrilled that you made it. Have you ever spent a day cooking, preparing a meal, or how about on the grill, getting the food ready? And when it's all done, you know that it's rocking. You can't wait for the people to dive in because you know they're going to enjoy themselves. That's the way I feel about today's show. I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm thrilled. Looking forward to sharing the story of the Philadelphia chapter of the Inroads organization. We have 4 of their former staff members, and they're going to be here to share their story, their experiences with this juggernaut of an organization. But before we get to our guests, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to show a video, and this video is a little longer, a little over 2 minutes, but it tells the rich history and the story of Inroads National, and then we will dive into Inroads Philadelphia. Take a look.
New tonight, leveling the playing field. One company has been working on workplace diversity for the last 50 years.
KCRA3's Lisa Gonzalez reports on this program helping thousands of students get jobs and internships even during the pandemic.
Making inroads into corporate America.
Over the last 50 years, we have touched 150,000 students.
Inroads is a nonprofit that's been helping underserved students get paid internships and jobs in Fortune 500 companies since 1970. Forrest Harper is Inroads President and CEO.
I made it a passionate commitment that I was going to be on the front lines of helping students who are underserved but super talented.
And at the same time, Inroads helps more than 250 companies gain access to diverse talent as they work to diversify their workplace.
We average a total of 10,000 students a year.
Companies like AT&T, Chase, and Procter & Gamble. At Inroads, workplace diversity isn't just a box to check, it's a mission that started after founder Frank Carr heard Dr. Martin Luther King speak in Washington.
Free at last! Thank God Almighty! We are free at last!
We were fighting similar challenges as of today. Poverty, low income, opportunities for access, bias in the workplace. Same challenges, but he found a way to level the playing field.
Inroads alumni include CEOs, corporate executives, politicians, and entrepreneurs all over the world, and even news anchors like me.
When you see where are they today, you know the program really works. Our work is not finished. We are now focused on ensuring that students, no matter where they come from, families where they come from, should have an opportunity.
The free Inroads program provides motivated students training, education, real-world experience, and in the pandemic, they've added a virtual interview class.
Our goal is to stop talking, stop being theoretical, and take action. You want to see a change in the country? Go to inroads.org and put a note in the space and say, I want to volunteer. Don't stand back in the shadows. Stand out front. Let's make a difference.
In Sacramento, Lisa Gonzalez, KCRA3 News.
Wow. Wow. That was powerful. Good stuff. But guess what else is powerful? Our 4 guests for today. Ron Mitchell, who was the managing director at the time. Oscar Pierre Castro. Lieutenant Larry Boyd. And the Dory on Purpose Ray. Welcome to the Dr. James Show. Come on out, guys. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. What was that like watching that video?
It brought back memories.
It brought back a lot of memories. Dr. James, I look at you guys and boy, it's like looking at my family. This is like a family reunion. I know why you're excited because I'm excited too. I have to be on my best behavior because my former boss is here too, and Larry Boyd. We're not going to talk about that. It's amazing. It's just amazing.
How about you, Oscar, watching that video? How did it land on you?
Yeah, it takes me back. I mean, I feel like
20 years ago, actually, is when I left Inroads to pursue other things. And it was the same year, September 11th happening. And so like, those were things that, as I watched this video, I was thinking, wow, time has flown for me, but it's also flown for the organization, and things have changed in so many different ways. It's amazing. Yeah.
Sure. Colonel Boyd, how did the video land on you?
It brought back a lot of memories. It really showed how, reeling it back, how we made an impact not only on the Philadelphia region, but also the country. So it gave me goosebumps. It really did.
Wow. Well, Ron, you were managing director, Philly chapter, Philly organization at the time. How did the video land on you? And did you get chills, thrills, goosebumps? How did it land on you?
Well, I was excited about one thing. I found out that election is carrying on, that our CEO has decided to grow a mustache and beard. It just brought back the fact that what we started to do is still going on and will keep going on. And when he said people you know and famous people, I thought about all the people I pass in the street and I see. Stop in the supermarket and says, "Someone, don't you know me?" And I say, "No, but some of you saw who's a junior, who's now a mother, and all the kids." You know, it's exciting. It really is exciting.
What I want to know is, how were you guys able to get the entire city of Philadelphia involved? We're going to show a couple pictures that suggest the entire city was involved with your plight. Take a look and share some thoughts about these pictures. Congrats. 1994 Inroads Philadelphia award winners. How did you guys make something like that happen?
I can answer that, Dr. James.
All
I can
right,
answer. Pico was one of our premier sponsors. So because Pico was a sponsor, we had carte blanche on the night of our annual award ceremony, which was infamous in the city of Philadelphia. And they would show us off every year during our annual award celebration. And you had to know, Dr. James, that Pat Coulter was running the show. And when Pat Coulter said something happened in the city of Philadelphia, it just happened. You know what I mean?
Oscar, I see you nodding your head. Are you co-signing that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I felt like just traveling around the city at that time, people knew Inroads in a way that, I'm unfamiliar with how people know Inroads now on the streets of Philadelphia, but it was a visceral experience, especially if you had your pin on, or if you're walking around, walking into businesses and companies and meeting people. Oh, you're the Inroads person, right? We're waiting for you. So I feel like the work that was done before I got there showed up while I was there, because it was amazing to be a part of something like this.
Dora, you mentioned Pat Coulter. We have a picture of Pat and Debbie, and I like any one of you just chime in on what that picture of Pat and Debbie means to you. Let's take a look.
I'm gonna take over your show if you let me. Let me say one thing before I let you guys. I remember this event. I had my hair was kind of like to the side with some wavy curls, but these two ladies are two pillars and epitome of professionalism. Whenever we got out of control, Pat never caught us because Debbie always covered us. It was a bunch of crazy people in an office and Debbie. And Ron Mitchell knows because he even did what Debbie told him to do. Debbie was the unofficial boss of Inroads, period, point blank.
Ron, are you co-signing that or what?
Yeah, these two ladies kept everybody in check. You may have a title, but then they should know where to stand. And they made a lot of things happen, and they were truly, truly professionals. And I was proud to work with them as part of a team.
Ron, what impact did Inroads have on you, your life personally and professionally? Total impact. You were basically managing director in charge. You had these phenomenal team members as lieutenants and colonels, and you were working with these gifted students from underrepresented groups. So the impact of Inroads on you.
Every day was a day that I really enjoyed coming to work. And I'll tell you why, it really wasn't work, it was fun. I had the opportunity to see young people who were getting an opportunity to be part of corporate America, smart, bright young people that many companies said they weren't out there and they couldn't find. And at the same time, I had a chance to work with a team, not a staff, I'm not the boss. We were a team. I work with a team, and my responsibility also was to help them to grow and to develop. I remember each of the one to do it. I can really remember with Larry or Colonel Boyd, whatever it was. There's things he wanted to do in the military to get ahead, and I gave him every opportunity to do that because I can remember when he wasn't there, he was still there. The presence was always there. I don't know how he did it, but something got done all the time. And the fact that they went out and they were truly professionals in everything they did, it was fun coming to work. It really was fun.
Wow. Oscar, I see your head nodding again. You co-sign that?
I do. I mean, I feel like I'm probably, arguably, maybe the youngest person on this panel. And when I came into this job, you know, Ron was the managing director at the time. He's the person who hired myself. My counterpart, who is your brother, Rodney, you know, we came in at the same time and as peers. And I feel like I learned a lot from Ron and Debbie too. Honestly, I learned a lot from everyone. It was really my professional growth edges were being honed in this space. And of course, I had to be in the midst of, you know, Fortune 500 professionals who were running, you know, shows that were different than what we were doing categorically, but I had to be able to, you know, meet them where they were and be the professional that I needed to be. And if it weren't for Ron and Larry and the influence of others like Debbie, I don't know that I'd be the professional that I am today. So I really cut my teeth as a young adult in that particular world.
All right. And Larry, thinking about cutting teeth, what made Inroads so successful during your era, during your time there? What was the magic, the recipe, the secret sauce? What would you say?
We were successful because of the professionals that were there. We treated each other like families, but we also were professional. We knew our roles. Ron was the head. He gave us our flexibility. He did not micromanage us. He gave us the mission. We moved out smartly and did it. Now, to kind of go back to what one of the things what Ron was saying earlier is that in my case, he gave me the flexibility because I also had another career going on. I had the Army going on. So any given day, I might go up, hey boss, I gotta go do this Army thing. And basically, he kind of looked at me almost like some of my my generals would just look at me and say, you know, basically like, handle your business as long as my business is handled. So oftentimes I would travel the world with 2 computers.
Wow.
One Inroads laptop, one Army laptop. And oftentimes, and as a recruitment manager, I was doing things in the middle of the night and emails would be popping up in Ron's and Dory's and Oscar's emails like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock. And they was wondering, does this guy ever sleep? And not really. But it gave me the flexibility to make it happen. So the multi-talented staff, family staff, made us successful.
Wow, wow. I became acquainted with Inroads during the mid to late 80s when I worked for Prudential ARP operations. And I was fortunate enough to be able to come to some of the workshops, do some of the speaking. And these students were phenomenal. Dory, talk to us about the typical, if there's such thing as a typical Inroad intern.
I'm telling you, I'm sitting here, it's like nostalgia. First of all, I remembered you with Vanguard. I know you started with us with one company, then you went with another company. Let me just point out that I was with Inroads prior to all these guys coming here. I was there when Pat Coulter was the managing director of Inroads. So I came to Inroads. I had graduated from Howard University and I turned down a job I should have taken according to my dad. And he was like, you got a couple weeks to find a job. Ultimately, I landed at Inroads. And like Larry said, and like Oscar said, that was the launching pad for my whole professional career. When they tell me to give you my resume, I don't even start until I get to Inroads. Now, you want to talk about the typical student. Let's just say, first of all, they all make more money than me right now. Let's just make that disclaimer right now. They're all doctors, lawyers, and Indian chiefs.
Dory, they make more than anybody on this show right now.
I don't understand. I'm like, please don't forget the little people. But Like, for instance, Sharif Street, State Senator Sharif Street was one of my interns. He was a sophomore at Central High School, a shy young kid who had a lot of potential. He didn't talk much, but he was thorough. And I had to pull that out in him. Here, this kid goes off to Morehouse on a scholarship, comes and works for Coopers and Brand, a library every summer. And now he's my state senator. Like, where they do that at? I'm just a girl from the hood trying to do good. I had Bill Hart had Derek Green, a city councilman Derek Green. I could name this list all the way down. These children who are now some of the leading adults in the world were mentored by me, poor babies.
You talk about you struck. You talk about you starstruck. In the chat room right now, it says, guys, I'm starstruck. This is Warren Trey Bynum. I cannot tell you how much you did for us. Thank you so much. I never would have made it with, that sounds like a song. Never would have made it without you. I'm a senior VP in a bank. You guys really made us. Gym workshops, where's Bill's heart? Yes. Any love out there for Trey?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that name is a good one. Let me tell you something. And let me tell you something, Dr. James, talent pool was the place to be.
That's right.
Can we talk about talent pool, guys?
Yeah, Oscar, talent pool. Talk to Ron.
There were a couple of times when it was Ron or Debbie, somebody assigned me to organize talent pool. And it was like, oh, I got to do this. And, we had a team, but I was the lead. And like Dory said, talent pool was it. And honestly,
what was it for those of us who don't know? Describe it.
It's a term I've taken with me throughout my life now, because it's an event where we would bring in 300 to 350 young people, some who were going to college, some who were already in college, who had gotten past the interview process with us in terms of could they be in Inroads or could they be placed within an organization. Not all of them are going to be placed, but a good number of them would be. And that was what was about to happen. We were going to help them understand different things like dressing for success, what cologne not to wear into an interview, how to interview.
Oscar, how did you get them to listen? What made them want to take the orders? Because sometimes young folks know everything. What was it about what you shared, how you governed, that got them to say yes?
I'm pretty sure it was our selection process. We were gathering people, going out recruiting people, gathering them in, looking at their credentials, interviewing them. And I think by the time we got to that talent pool, we had collected a huge amount of young people who were ready and willing to do the work. And were ready and willing to listen. Yeah, you might have an outlier or two who wanted to be a jokester, but for the most part, everybody was really there to soak up the thing that they needed to get so that they could go and land the thing that they wanted to be doing with Inroads. And I think for me, that was we had a good talent, a good pool of talent. So that's what made it helpful.
Ron, how did it feel watching this evolve and just sitting back and saying, okay, this is good?
Well, it was interesting to see all these young people, because you got to keep in mind, many of the students I was looking at the same age as my kids. So I looked at them, I had to be very careful not to treat them as kids. So what I had to keep saying to them, they are young men and women. In the same way that the staff was responsible, I told them they had to be responsible too. And we told them stories about the walk out there. They have to walk the walk out there, and there are things they have to do that they don't want to do. The things they want to say, they can't say. And most of them listen. And for those who didn't listen, many of them came back and said, you know what? You were right. You were right. But I think why it worked so well was, once again, the staff was professional. We treated them professionally. And they saw it. It just kind of rubbed off. It just kind of rubbed off. Like Dory says, I walk the streets and I see people. Even when I was there as managing director, some of the interns were making more per hour. Summer jobs.
The summer jobs were paying back in the 80s and 90s, $15 to $20 an hour. So they were getting the experience, and that job they were able to go back to every single summer as long as they continued to meet the requirements. Like, it did not get any better than that. I just saw Anwar Miller, another one, doing better than us. But that was the goal.
We were getting cars and all kind of bonuses and taking computers away to school. And I'm sitting there saying, gee, I might go back about 30 years now.
Wow. Ronnie, there's a question in the chat room that I'm going to direct to you. It says, and then whoever else wants to chime in, what do you personally feel is the impact of inroads on corporate America?
I think the impact on corporate America was basically this, as it was for me. They used to say, and I heard the excuse, because even as a recruiter for a previous corporation, I can't find them. There's no talent out there. And when we went out and we found them at the colleges and universities where they say they couldn't find them, and we brought them to the door, and how bright, how sharp they were, and even how innovative were, they couldn't use the excuse anymore. I can't find them. They're not out there.
And that excuse is still used today. Where are they? Where are all these superstars from underrepresented groups? We can't find them.
Well, that's their excuse. And for us, that was really the thing I thought was to our advantage, because I thought that we as an organization, we weren't a nonprofit. We were a sales organization. We had to go out and sell the fact that the thing that you've been considering, that they're not out there and you can't find them, does not exist. And if you can't find them, we'll find them for you. And then when we bring them to your door, don't say, no, you can't take them. Because they're bright, they're sharp, and they're talented.
That's right.
Yeah. Larry, how about you? Your reactions to that, the impact that Inroads had on corporate America?
Inroads, the impact on corporate America is actually undescribable. When you think about it, particularly in the Philadelphia area, having a small staff to bring these many professionals to the table and where they are now, it's almost unfathomable. I'm looking at and thinking about two of my interns that I had. One is William J. Scott. William J. Scott, I knew him, and Ron probably may even know his family. He's from Willingboro, New Jersey. Went to my church, and initially he was an intern with Core States Bank. And I was sitting in my office, and I got a call from a guy from Nike, and he was looking to bring on an intern in Malton, New Jersey. They wanted to bring in an intern there. I'm thinking to myself, where am I going to get this intern from? They had certain specifications. They wanted a former athlete if possible, obviously great grades, community service. And I'm thinking like, okay, I'm thinking Will Scott. Will Scott was an All-American at Florida A&M University.
Right.
3.5 GPA MBA program, got in place, did great, phenomenal job there. Now, William Scott, Jeff Scott, as I call him, is the general manager for basketball and sportswear at Nike. Worldwide. That's big time. So the impact that each individual staff has had through personal coaching and us getting out there to recruit and interview and properly place these individuals, that's an impact that we can look at across the nation in all of our Inroads affiliates. So we've had a dramatic impact on the culture of corporate America.
Yeah. That's awesome. Anwar says, it's great to see all my mentors from the 90s. I concur with the other participants, the impact that Inroads had on my career and on my life.
Wow.
Someone else says, hi, Inroads fam. Not hi, Inroads, hi, Inroads fam. Mike Robinson was my advisor. He became family, met my husband, Ricardo, Michelle, in the program. And Mike emceed our wedding reception. Pat Coulter and team, amazing. Everyone was invested in the success of young people. Oscar, when you hear that, Dory, when you hear that, how does it make you feel?
Goosebumps. Let me tell you something. It goes from being, it adds significance and purpose to your life. Your crown just keeps getting jewels in them every time you hear one of them young people doing big things. And I just want to add one thing, Dr. James. We when corporate America said they couldn't find them, we created them. It's very important because we brought them raw material, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and freshmen and sophomore college, and they got to mold them into the employee that they want. They had never heard that concept of being able to take a student, a piece of raw person, and mold them into the perfect employee who comes back year after year, and they have all the qualifications that you need. We did that, and these young people are a prime example that that model works. That if you take a person and you put things into them to help them become the person they were destined to be, it's a win-win situation for the company and, of course, for us, because we get all these mama, papa accolades, and for the young people who are doing well. I love this. And for you, Dr. James, you know, meeting people like you, man, you went on to change the world, and now you're a mentor for all of us. So we love you, man. It's cool beans.
I mean, one of my first introductions to the students, I think you guys had your summer week or your summer training, and I was the final keynote speaker on a Sunday morning. Now, those guys were there for the week or the weekend. They worked hard, and that Saturday, they partied hard. and I remember my brother saying to me, yo, man, this might not be good. This might not be good. They were up all night. So I started by getting them all to stand up. And then I said, listen, if you were in bed by 9 o'clock, sit down, 10 o'clock, sit down, 2 o'clock, sit down, 3 o'clock. And although they were up all night, they were with me for the duration of my 90-minute presentation, and we rocked it out. And I said, those are some special people, special people, great time. Oscar, let me ask you, it was a great time. You guys really were catalysts to a lot of growth from young people. Is there anything you think you guys could have done even more to enrich the experiences of the students, of the team, the family, and the relationships with the clients?
Sure. I think, you know, we've learned a lot in the work that we were doing since then. You know, I'm the director of HR and inclusion for Philadelphia Yearly Meeting, and I've had a journey of experiencing the shift from addressing multiculturalism and diversity as a way and approach to help corporate America do better, and really thinking more about equity and inclusivity first, and then diversity comes. And I feel like, you know, hindsight being what it is, it's easy to look back and say, oh, we had some of the terminology wrong, or maybe we could have approached corporate America, the companies that we were working with, in a different context, but we didn't have the language then. And we've, you know, I feel like I've learned a lot in the last 10, 15 years, just in this little, you know, bandwidth of work that I've been doing that relates to a lot of the stuff that I was doing, you know, 20 some years ago with Inroads, but in a different context. So I feel like that could have been different, but we didn't. We were working, I think we were cutting edge. So we were working with what it was at the time and getting people to move along that pathway. I feel like corporate America, many of the organizations that Inroads is still working with, has come along with us because we've been doing that work to advance the conversation, change the language, really dig deeper into the examination of what equity and diversity means in corporate America, let alone in our society. So yeah, you know, hindsight being what it is, I wish we could have been having different conversations then, but everything has its time. And I feel like we are in a space now because of what we did back then.
Yeah, Ron, your thoughts on what Oscar just said? Pretty powerful.
For the talent pool?
Just in general, with the relationships with the clients, some of the things you could have done different, having the right nomenclature, the narrative, the language around diversity, equity, inclusion, even in a more compelling, powerful way.
Yeah, what I thought was a great example of inclusion and getting them to understand the interns and where they come from was our banquets. I'll tell you why. At the banquet, you had the interns there.
Well, you keep talking, man. We're going to show some pictures of the banquet.
You had the staff there. And many times you had the parents there and the corporate people. And I used to stand over by the side, you know, away from the snack tray and watch the interns talk to their bosses, introduce their families to them. And I remember one family, the parents couldn't even speak English. They were in Spanish.
Wow.
And it's very interesting watching the corporate person absorb all this and understand. I even had a couple afterwards when I wanted to visit them saying, that banquet is tremendous.
The banquet. Look at that, Wednesday, August 3rd, 94 at the Wyndham Franklin Plaza. Then we have Thursday, August 1st, 96 at the Philadelphia Marriott. Then 2005 at the Wyndham. I mean, and then some of the speakers you had. Look at this caliber of speaker. We got Les Brown, we got George Frazier. I'm sure you had the best of the best, and that's Lester Calvin Brown before he was the man he is today. So you guys were cutting edge.
And we had Melvin out there too. I think they are official of the government there.
Who's that? I'm sorry, Ron.
We had the doctor there.
George Frazier.
Yeah, well, we had a couple of doctors there. I'm trying to think of the one now was in the government. He had Health and Human Services.
Well, they were powerful experiences. I know I attended a number of them because we had interns at Prudential and Vanguard when I was employed there. So, of course, I was there in the audience, and they were beaming. The students were beaming. The parents were beaming. It was magical. Tell me about the relationships you had with the corporations, especially after they kept turning out, or you kept turning out, superstar after superstar. Did they say, thank you so much? We appreciate this. Where would we have been without you? What was those conversations like?
Well, it really depended, because you could see some of them saying thank you, because I think how many of them, the students were going to school and suddenly they got a scholarship from the company. So they saw some value in that. How many of them didn't have cars? I remember they didn't have cars. And some of the companies gave them cars to use while they're on campus. I saw some of that happen. And many of the executives probably told us all, boy, that so-and-so is a great kid.
Wow.
They really like him. They really enjoy it. I even had said, can you get me another one? I said, what's another one?
I like that one.
There's a whole bunch of them out there.
Like we had them in the closet.
Numbers grew, and companies took that and they invested. They came and they participated in talent pool. They gave money. And we're thinking this was all done, but they put money up front, believing that we could bring to them what we said we can bring to them. So they paid for it up front, and we delivered.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to mention, Dr. James, that the staff, when I was first there back, I came to Inroads in 1994, was my first year. Okay, so I was on board with Michael Robinson. It was not Reverend Michael, it was Mike Robinson.
Well, as you're talking, we're going to show some pictures of the evolution of the staff, but keep
right,
going.
So, and then I had Bill Hart on one side of me. I had Michael Cheeks, I had Sharon Rose, I had Michelle Burdell, Nancy Warwick, all those people right there. Those were my teammates. So it was a pretty wild place to be, okay? But there was a one room in that building at 1601 Market Street. They call it a conference room. Now, it was a war room. When it came time every one of us had particular companies that we were responsible for.
Dora, you call it the war room? You call it the war room?
Oh, Dr. James. When we got in there, if we wanted that one kid for our company, you talk about family feud. Sometimes Pat would say, everybody go take a break. And it's just, look at the pictures, man. These are some good looking people. Wow. Talk.
Larry, as you look at this photo, we see you to my left, sitting next to Michael Robinson and Ron in the middle, and Rodney Smith and Oscar and Bill Hart. Got the men seated and the women standing up. What was that about?
I don't know about that one.
I had already left. They kicked me out, Doc.
we learned from that. That's what the photographer said.
Staff kept evolving. Larry, I see you still there. Kelly, Uva.
I was kind of the glue between the decades. I'm the only 20-year person still here that was there.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of glued things between the different decades. And each year that we were at Inroads, we averaged close to 300 interns every year. And as we talked about that banquet earlier, the banquet was one of the biggest events in Philadelphia, averaging about 1,250 attendees every year. So the corporations definitely bought into what we were doing. And just to go back a little bit to some of the interns' commitment was truly there. As we all, Oscar, Dory, Ron, we know we had some interns that would either catch many trains to get to work, or they would drive. I had one kid that would drive almost 2 hours to work. That was their commitment because they knew what the overall product would be and what their overall development would be. And they really bought into that process.
Reverend Mike just popped in and he said, love this. Hi, Ron. Hi, Dory. Hi, Oscar. Hi, Jim. Love my years with Inroads Philadelphia as a staff member. Larry, let's keep going with the staff member conversation. What made the staff come together like glue? I mean, because I know a lot of you, different personalities, come from different parts of the city, different states. What contributed to your coming together like glue and making sure that you guys were magical and game-changing and difference makers?
The common factor, like which we've been talking about all along, is that we were family. And that was the thing that really kept us all together. We knew we had a job to do and a mission to do, but we were all about team, as Ron said earlier. If one person needed help, everybody helped. It wasn't a me type of organization, and that led to our success. But family, if you look at just the four of us currently on there, this is a portion of our Panhellenic Council. Oscar was the Kappa, Dory was the Delta, I'm the Omega, and that permeated, that close in our minds also. But family, Dory and my son, they were born around the same time. Her daughter and my son born around the same time. Oscar came on, like I said, he was the youngest. He was like, okay, come on up in here, little brother. You know, so it was family. And when one had success, all had success. When one was sad, the other was sad. I recall early in my career there at Inroads, I had a lot. I came in from active duty, transitioning to the civilian sector, had a new family. They celebrated your triumphs with you when your kids are born, when you get a new house, and all those different things. So like Ron said, you didn't mind coming to work because it's like it wasn't coming to a hostile environment. Yes, it was a lot of work to do, but we enjoyed what we did, and that made it so much more better to be there.
Hey, Doc, I want to just mention right after Larry. Larry came in right off of active duty, so he was very military. So I immediately went to his office, and this joke has been going for almost 30 years now. I went to his office because he came in there, he was so straight. And, you know, we used to slide down the office in our socks. So it was like, this dude is not going to fit in here, right? So I went to his office, and I'm like, I just want to let you know one thing. I ain't scared of you. And for 30 years, every conversation we have had has either started or ended, by the way, I ain't scared of you. You know what I'm saying? He scared us. He was like, left, right. And we were like, we slide down the hallways. We don't walk in here. So that was a funny thing for us.
Larry, you're smiling. You remember that well, huh?
Yeah, I loved it because I didn't have to do it.
I remember it well. I was dressed right, no doubt about it.
You talk about Larry. It's interesting. I think we were at a SHRM meeting one evening, and I'm just talking, and I was looking for some staff because I was new there. And I said to him casually, I said, "You looking for work?" And he said, "Yeah." So what can you do? And he said, "Like anything." I said, "To meet me 7:15. 7:15 in the morning. And the door was locked. Who do you think was knocking on the door at 7:15?
Oh, Colonel Boyd.
He walked down. I don't think we spent more about 15 minutes together, Larry. I said, "You got a job."
Right.
It was just obvious. And that's what it was with everybody here. And one of the things I had to say for the staff, and I told about development, not only the interns, but the staff, my philosophy was as managing director that they have to grow as well. And one question I always asked in the interviewing process, if money were no object and you could do anything you want to do in this world, what would it be? When they told me what that was, I knew what they wanted to do in the future. And I said, if that's what you want to do, I'll help you get there. That's true. As I was supposed to, they were help develop the interns. My role was to help develop the staff. Yes. And if they left me, it was sad, but guess what? It was happy too.
Ron, you talked about others coming on board. How did you find your way to Inroads, and what challenges did you face coming on board in as the managing director?
Well, I had been working for an advertising company, and I went through various agencies out there. One of them said one day, I got this place I want you to interview. It's called Inroads. And I said, what? They said Inroads. I never heard of Inroads. Didn't know what it was. So I said I would go to the library and look up stuff. I couldn't find anything in the library. Inroads was the world's biggest secret. I couldn't find anything. So you know, it's like walking into an interview and not knowing anything about the company. But I walked in and I sat down and I talked with Pat. I talked with a couple of the board members, and they quizzed me one with the other and asked me all these questions. And I finally said about the fourth interview, and I walked into Pat. I said, Pat, I'm tired. Do I have the job? And she said, yes, I'm glad you asked. I had to ask for the job. Or I had about 4 or 5 more interviews to go through. I came, it was totally different. And I just loved it. Just loved it. Come home and tell your wife, boy, I had a great day today. She's looking at it, looking at me and saying, are you crazy? You went to work. But it was great.
Well, the second part of the question is for everyone too, not just Ron. What challenges did the team face, or what challenges did you face? We've talked about all the home runs you hit, but there was some sacrifice. There were some tissue issues, some moments of indecision. What challenges did you face in particular?
Well, the big challenge I had was trying to somewhat change the culture. I came from the sales background. And we thought that we were a nonprofit. I just go out there and tell a story, and people would just jump all over us. I tried to let them know that we had to go out there and be salespeople. We had to dig into them. We had to create the discomfort for it. We had to let them know you can't find minorities. Why can't you find them? How do you do it? Even with some cost justifications out there to let them know that they needed us. So we had to sell. My mission was little by little to teach some of the selling skills that I picked up along the way. And I saw it when I went out with them, how people talk to them. I'm just giving you a presentation. So I'm digging into your business to find out where you hurt. Where do you need people? How do you go about doing it? And then coming up the answer, saying the Inroads is the answer, and then giving a presentation. So it was great. It was great. But that was the challenge, trying to change the culture from.
Sure.
One of my challenges was when a young person, you have 2 young people, both of whom are qualified, both of whom are really qualified, but you got one position. Yeah. And you got to choose between those 2 people, and you got to keep the other one encouraged. And there was nothing like seeing that high school senior come back in their freshman year after they didn't get an internship the first year and come back and nail one the second year. It was such a home run for us. The other challenge was remembering the mission and not taking one of those jobs at corporate America. There was many times because we had so much access to HR in corporate America and hiring people that they would offer us jobs. And we had to remember we were on a mission. I mean, in the middle of talent pool, they'd be like, well, when you get a minute, call me. And they would offer you jobs. And you'd be like, yo, not right now, please. So that was about it. But it was joy. Like Ron said, my first week at Inroads, I was on a plane to Puerto Rico. And my father said, I don't like this place. Why are they taking you all the way to Puerto Rico? I said, I don't know, Dad, but I'm going and we'll figure it out later. And it's been uphill since then.
What type of universities and corporations, can you throw out a few names of the types of universities the students attended, as well as the corporations you partnered with?
I had 30 interns at Unisys. I had all of the big 6 accounting firms at the time. I had Arthur Anderson, Coopers and Lybrand, KPMG, Pete Marwick. I had students at Spelman, Howard, Morehouse, Temple, University of Pennsylvania, Cheney, Lincoln, you name it, they were everywhere.
Oscar, I see you nodding your head. You too?
Yeah, pretty much the same list. I think I inherited a couple of Dory's companies like Coopers and Lybrand, and Sharif Street was one of my interns that I worked with. So like I have that connection point that Dory has, watching this young person become bigger than life in a lot of ways. And the list of schools that I traveled around to recruit from, including high schools, because we were recruiting high school age seniors who were going into college, as well as college age students who were, I think, up to maybe sophomore, junior year, I forget exactly, but like there was a mixed bag of people that we were reaching out to. And so like traveling around the Delaware Valley was a thing in terms of recruitment, but we would get people from all around the country in terms of the schools that they were attending. And that was an amazing list.
Mike Robinson says, Inroads won the U.S. Department of Labor's Lift Award, recognizing us as the best internship program in America, several years running.
Yeah.
Larry, tell me about your approach when you're meeting your interns for the first time and you're having to create that relationship where you identify who you are and you're pulling from them to understand their goals and objectives. Was there an approach or a different style for each intern? Tell me about the Boyd approach to creating the relationship with the interns.
Our approach was pretty much as how I approach life and anything else. I pretty much no nonsense. And,
Hashtag duh.
Interns do that. I would introduce myself as who I was and let them know that I'm here to be an advocate and a coach to them for their success. If they're successful, I'm successful. I'm going to treat you as a young adult, but you have to do your part. And we had our criteria that they had to do: call us once a month, check in with us once a month, maintain good grades, those different things. But I told them that's what the standard is. I'm not going to deviate from it. If you're not going to be successful, it will be because you choose not to be successful. But I am here for you. And ultimately, they saw a method to my madness. And I know they had a lot of them had the inside jokes, and some of the interns, like Natalie Guy, I think was one of Dory's interns at one point. She's like, yeah, that's a little military guy. But later on in life, and I get a couple of emails and through social media information from them. Oh, now I understand what you were saying, and I appreciate what you did for me, and all those different things. So my challenge to them was always, do your best. I'm here to support you. And I would always hype them up when we went out to see their corporate sponsors during the summer reviews, and let them know, hey, we have your back. It's not about me. It's about your success.
That's good stuff. Did you ever have, this is for any one of you, ever have an intern who looked like early on he or she wasn't going to make it, and you were concerned, and they 360 and finished off strong? Any of those stories?
Yeah, I had Bill Hart. I didn't think he was going to make it.
For those of you who don't know, Bill was a former staff member.
You know, on that thread, I feel like I can't think of anybody in that particular category, but I remember talking to some alum a few years after they had gotten through Inroads, and what they were sharing with me was, hey, Oscar, that Inroads experience was a great thing. We learned a lot. We learned a lot from you all. We learned a lot from our companies. And then we got into like the real world of being a professional once we got in there, and seeing it with a different viewpoint, a different lens of, now they're on staff. They're not just the intern that comes in once a summer. And they learned a lot more. And some of them, the people I'm talking about particularly, were like, hey, I'm not really sure that this is where I actually want to be anymore. Like corporate America, it's not where I want to be. Maybe I want to be here, but I want to be running my own show. I want to be the boss of my own company rather than working, in a company for other bosses. So I feel like I've watched people move from that experience of getting their feet wet you know, as an intern, getting their feet wet as a young professional, and then saying, I think I want to try something else with my life. But because they had that experience and those experiences to be able to pivot and say, oh, I'm going to go to grad school and I'm going to get my MBA, or I'm going to decide to start my own business and do that with confidence because of all the things that I learned because of Inroads and the skill sets that I got from my sponsoring company. So I feel like not everybody necessarily made it through and stayed in corporate America in the same way, but they still, many of them, very successful in deciding, hey, I don't want to be here anymore. And they had that opportunity to learn that.
And some are doing both. They have their Warren Trey-Bynum. I know he's an amazing DJ. He's a senior VP at a bank. I mean, they have utilized both corporate and entrepreneurial experiences. Ron, I want to show a picture to you. I want you to share what that moment meant for you. There are two pictures on the same slide. What did this moment mean to you? Let's take a look. Ronald Mitchell, Managing Director, Road to Success, your celebration dinner. Take us back when you decided it was time to move on to your next career.
Wow, that was a tough moment. From the standpoint, I love what I'm doing, and it was just a time we all get to that we have to move on. I was going to miss the family and miss all the interns and being around it. So it was tough for me. I was lucky enough I didn't cry until after I got home.
I can hear your voice right now. I'm feeling the tissue issue.
But to see people come out and to say, job well done, or I like what you did, that makes a big difference. It really does. And when I left, I didn't think, I any regrets from the standpoint that I didn't do the best I possibly could. But I wanted to stay longer. But you know, sometimes you have to move on. And I knew that was the moment I had to move on, and I moved on to another career. You know, I'm in it now, so, I'm loving it.
Well, you were a mentor to many, unofficial mentor to me. I remember one year I asked you to come join the advisory board for my business. And you always provided that coaching and that direction and that you may want to give this some thought. So I still look to you today as one of my mentors in life. Larry, I'm not going to let you go. We got some pictures of something that happened to you too. The Philly Flash, but then we had Larry's goodbye dinner. What was that like for you?
Well, in this particular case, they were recognizing me when I was over for my service in Iraq. And this was at a banquet that obviously I was not able to attend because I was in Iraq at the time. But again, the support that the staff, the family gave me, and the prayers they uplifted for me when I was serving overseas. I mean, it ties back to Ron. I mean, Ron and I are kind of tied to the hips with the two old heads here. But when we talk about mentoring, without his mentoring to me, my other career would not have been a success. I came to Inroads, I was a captain. I got promoted to major. I got promoted to lieutenant colonel. Then I moved on to be promoted to colonel. Only 2% of the Army gets promoted to that rank. So without that mentorship and that support to me and the support from the staff, I would not have been there. I stayed so long because, again, I love the mission. Could I have made more money in other places? Definitely. Which people are always calling, come on, Larry, I got this job, this opportunity for you. No, I'm enjoying this mission. I'm enjoying the people. I'm enjoying the corporation, the interns. Money is great, but I didn't want to be miserable in a job by making a lot of money. So I had the flexibility to do what I needed to do, make an impact lives, and I felt great about it. And throughout the time frame, the support again of the Inroads family, been great. And when you call every day to say that I want to be on a panel, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it was like, I was wondering over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I was dreaming about Inroads for some reason. I don't know why. It's like, why am I dreaming about Inroads? You know, then you're gonna get the call. It's like, wow.
You put it out in the universe.
All I can say is wow.
You put it out in the universe. You guys have developed judges, city officials, decision makers. It's amazing. If people only knew, we can get everyone together that you guys touched and to see how successful they are personally and professionally. I wish we had more time. We don't, but I'm not going to let you go without this. At the end of every show, the guest, since I'm a keynote speaker, I ask the guests to give us a 30-second keynote where they share a call to action. They share their thoughts, their ideas. It's just, we're wrapping up. I want you to look into that microphone. Think about who's watching. Think about the alum, the interns, and share some words of information. And I'm going to start with you, Colonel. Your mini keynote.
Mini keynote.
Mic check, mic check, mic check. All right.
Always be the best that you can be. Always do what you have desire to do. There's nothing that you cannot do. Focus on what is important to you. Surround yourself with good people. We all don't know everything, but if we surround ourselves with great people, we can do great and extraordinary things. Inroads can provide that to you and to others. Always look forward, always move forward, do your best, and God bless.
Mic drop, Oscar Pierre Castro. Mic check, you're on.
All right. Let's start with gratitude. Please, everyone, take time out of your day to express gratitude for being where you are, for even having the problems that you have, because those problems are going to be the things, as you put your mind and your body to the test, are going to be the things that help you learn and grow into this life. So walk with gratitude. As Larry said, keep moving forward and know that you are everything that you need to be.
Yes. Mic drop, mic drop. Dory on purpose, Ray. What's up?
As I sit here and look at the faces and think about all the faces that are not here, the most important thing that I can say is relationships are everything. Be very gentle and very careful with your relationships, making sure that you appreciate, as Oscar said, and have gratitude for the people who you meet along the way, because these were not just my colleagues. These turned out to be my brothers and my sisters through births, through deaths, through very difficult times. They were the ones who came to my side. They're my children's godparents. I mean, it has been much more than I ever expected. So make sure you honor your relationships, respect your relationships, and you never know when you're going to run into that person again. And I like Larry, when I got that call from Dr. James, I said, whole house freeze, because I know that relationship is serious. So thank you so much, Dr. James.
You are so welcome. And Mr. Managing Director, Ronald Mitchell, bring us home.
You have to remember that you have more talents than you can possibly imagine. And each day we have to reach out to and touch somebody. If we wake up in the morning, God has given us the opportunity to take a deep breath. We need to go out there and say to myself, what can I do today to make someone's life even better? We did it as a job at Inroads, but we may not be at Inroads right now, but we still have it as a job along the way. Because I think about a guy I was walking into a parking lot. He didn't even know me. He reached out, put his hand on me, and he says, can I pray for you? Mm. And he did. And we need to do the same thing. We need to put our hands on somebody out there and say, how can I help you? And if we do that, things will be much better than they are right now. And it costs us nothing except a smile.
Mm. To say that time sure does fly is an understatement. I'm back in the 80s. I'm back in the 90s. I'm back in the 1601 building. Thank you. Thank you. Doesn't seem like a more powerful word to say, the most powerful word to say, for making the time to just give us a slice of the pie. Your wisdom, your stick-to-itiveness, your humor, your candor, insurmountable. And I told you guys I was excited that this show was going to be another informational and transformational show. If you haven't done your research, check out Inroads Philadelphia. See if you can help out, because Inroads is still moving and grooving. We'll see you next week on the Dr. James Show. Bring a friend or two, and remember, you've just been Gym-Pacted.